No BS intro, no BS intro, no BS intro. Hi everyone, so you know why you click this video, so I'm just gonna show you the calculators. This is 570 FX570EX. This is the best one, the first one that I bought. And this is the same version, it's called 991EX, FX991EX. This is just the one with solar panels so that your battery lasts longer. So without further ado, I'm gonna use an emulator to show you guys how to operate and use some tips and tricks so that you can boost your results in your IGCSE exam using these two calculators. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so before getting into anything fancy, let's just navigate through the calculator interface together. So these are the numbers and these are the operations. And then this is for standard form. For example, 6 times 10, and then after that it shows to the power of 5, for example. So this means 6 times 10 to the power of 5. So when you add that, you see 6 times 10 to the power of 5. But usually what I like to do is just 6 times 10. It's easier for me, but it's up to personal preference. And then apart from this, there is the sine, cos and tan button for trigonometry, sine 45. The close bracket is not really mandatory, it's optional, but I prefer doing it so that it shows a more complete side of the operation. And then there's the fraction button. If you don't want to do fraction, you can delete it, and then you can add the mixed numbers as well. That works. So usually fraction also means divide, as we all know. So when you do 9 and then you press a fraction, this means 9 divided by 6 and you get the number there. For the further maths operation, if you want to switch from degree to radian, you press shift and then menu, and then you go to 2, and then you can change it to radian. So now your calculator is in radian mode. And then there's the SD button, switching from fraction to decimals. And I think that's almost it. When I clear it, there's the sine, cos, tan. There's a log button. If you want to get log 10, you can do it from this way, or what you can do is shift and then log. So you have the log 10 button here as well. And then there's the permutation and combination button when you press shift multiply or shift divide. Yep, and then there's nothing really here. There's the square button, square and cube button, and then there's the cube button when you shift the square, and then for square root and cube root as well. But other than that, this is pretty simple, pretty basic interface. So let's go to see the more advanced operation, as I'll show later. So one trick on the FX570EX or 991EX is to calculate time using the degree, minute and second button, which is here below the fact button. So what I would do is I'll key in 4 hours and 30 minutes into the calculator. So 4, and then this degree button, and then 30 for minutes, and then 00 to indicate second, and then key in the degree again. Make sure you key in the degree button after the numbers. So when I press equal, it will show me that it's in their form. When you press the degree, minute, second button again, it will make it into a decimal, and then you can change it to fraction using SD button. What you can do extra as well is you can add with other numbers. For example, 5 hours and 40 minutes and 20 seconds. When you add those, they'll give you 10 hour, 10 minutes and 20 seconds. And you can change it to decimals as well and fractions. Next up in this feature of the calculator, it's called prime factorization, which is basically how you would turn from normal numbers into its prime factor form. So in school, we are taught with the tree diagram method, which is breaking down, dividing by 2 or dividing by the prime factors. But in this calculator, you can just do it by itself. So for example, let me type 400 in and type equal. How to obtain the prime factors is just pressing shift and the degree button. You get here 2 to the power 4 times 5 squared. It works on other numbers as well. For example, 72 equals, and then shift, degree button again, 2 cubed times 3 squared. Next up, in this calculator, you are able to navigate through standard form in your math and your science exams during your IGCSE pretty easily as well. So for example, let me key in a relatively huge number. And if you press equal, it will maintain the same number, but when you press E and G, you change it to standard form instantly. Another great thing for this calculator is you are able to move the decimal place to the right or to the left to obtain the full number again, or to move it so that it becomes like 0 point something. For example, to move it to the right, you press E and G again. So it moves it to the right, going back to the original number. To going back to the left, press shift and the same button, and you shift the decimal place to the left, then going past the standard form. So with this button, you can notice it's always switching by 10 to the power 3. So you have to do it carefully, because sometimes when you type in some numbers that are not in the thousands, it may not give the proper number, but usually they'll give the standard form. Next up is the percentage button. I usually see a lot of my friends ignore this button and type divide by 100, but instead, usually in some percentage questions in economics, in sciences, even in math, using the percentage number can be crucial. For example, 68% times 89, you would get a proper number. Percent is just means over 100. It's usually easier to just type shift percentage than typing over 100, so that you don't get messed up easily. Next up is the most useful, but I think the most well-known feature of this calculator, which is solving quadratics or cubics or quartic equations using the 570EX or 991EX. So what you would do is going on menu and then down, right, and then pressing the equation func, polynomial for polynomial, and then press polynomial degree for 2 for quadratics, and then you key in your ABC value. For this example, I'm going to use a past paper. So this Edexcel math paper 2022 tells me to factorize x squared plus 8x minus 9. So I'll just key in the values, 1 and then 8x and then negative 9, and then I'll get the answer. The first x is 1, x equals 1, and then the second x equals to negative 9. So now getting both answers, x equals 1, x equals negative 9, doesn't really answer our questions of factorizing. What you would need to do, for me, the easiest way is to move the numbers to the left hand side, so that the right hand side of the equation, the individual equation, equals 0. So for this instance, you have to negative 1 for both sides, so it will be x minus 1 equals 0, On the other equation, you have to plus 9 on both sides, which is going to be x plus 9 equals 0. Since both of them equals to 0, it's already factorized, so you have to just make them into brackets. X minus 1 it becomes one bracket, x plus 9 becomes another bracket. So that successfully factorizes it. And then the second question just asking us for the answer, which we have already from the calculator. X equals 1, x equals negative 9. So this is a very useful feature for solving quadratic, because it saves you a lot of time, spares you from thinking about solving. Calculator just does it for you. So another feature at the same equation / func button in this FX570 or 991EX is to solve simultaneous equation. So I'll press equals. It's the same menu, but this time instead of pressing 2 for polynomial, you press number 1. And then you insert two unknowns, usually it's two unknowns. So for this example, I'm using the same paper as before, 2022 paper 1 HR for math at Excel. So it says solve the simultaneous equation. So it's very simple using this calculator. You don't even need to do anything by yourself because it just gives you the answer. But of course, you have to write down the working down, like using substitution or elimination to do the questions. But this calculator just provides you with the answer so that you don't get it wrong. So for this instance, 3x minus 5y equals 25. And then that's the first equation. Second equation is 4x plus 3y equals 14. And then when you press equals, we get the answer. X equals 5 and y equals negative 2. So x equals 5, y equals negative 2. And you can, from that, you can sub in, do the substitution or elimination with the answers in front of you so that you don't get anything wrong. So next up is the CALC button, which is the CALC button here. So this button is very useful for finding coordinates of a graph. For example, in this paper, it's a further maths paper of 2022 May. So question 6a says complete the table of values for y equals 1 plus 3e to the power of negative x. Usually you have to use a lot of effort to type it again and again or use a table, but my favorite method with the help of a calculator is just typing the equation out. 1 plus 3e to the power of negative x. And then I'll use the CALC button, which is pressing CALC, and key in x equals something, and then I'll get the y value. So keying in x, I'll get y equals 4, and I'll write down 4. And then I'll do the same for 1, which is required. So press the CALC button again and make it 1, and then equals. Again, 2.1. Okay, and then do the same for keying in x equals 2. 2 times that equals 1.41. And that's it. This is a good use of the CALC CALC button in FX570991EX. It's a better way, in my opinion, than using table or typing in again and again. Next up, I find this feature very useful for physics especially, and in the future I may need to use it for other stuff outside of IGCSE, but it's this convert button. So we start with shift and then 8. You can see convert above 8, and you'll find length, area, volume, mass, velocity, pressure, energy, power, and temperature. The one that uses the most is velocity. So click 1 for velocity, and you can change from kilometers per hour to meter per second, or the other way around, meters per second to kilometers per hour. It's very useful for physics. You basically get free marks with this calculator hack because you don't need to do math in your head. So click 1, and for example, just giving a number like 78, and you're able to find meters per second, 65/3. Press shift and then the X, you get a sigma button, and then you can insert your equations. For example, 5x plus 2, and then you insert your first term. I'll just make it 1, and then how many terms are there? 20, and you get the sum of this series. So the same thing can be done for differentiation. So you press shift and the integration button, so you get this. Type in the equation, 5x cubed, for example, plus 9x minus 5, and then just make x equals 4. It depends on whatever question you're on, and it gives you the direct answer. And the same thing can be done for integration as well. So typing in the equation, and then type the start coordinate of x and the end, and you get the area. So these features are very good for confirming your answers, making sure that your working out was correct with this calculator. But other than that, it doesn't really help that much. It's just a very good way to confirm your answers and check. Next up, apart from solving quadratic or solving simultaneous equations, this calculator can also be able to provide us answers for inequalities. However, it's in a different menu. So to get access to the menu, you press menu, down, down, right. This is the one before, but just next to it, you get inequality. So when you press enter, usually you have to insert the numbers. So press 2 for quadratics, and you get the series of them. So to show an example, I'll type in more than 0, which is the first option, and I'll insert the value from one of the papers I found. So 1, and then 4 minus 12. When you enter in, you'll be able to find the value they give us. And from this value, you're able to verify and check your answers and get your correct answers without having a fear of getting some answers wrong, perhaps. Next up, this is one of the most hidden feature, because I don't think many people know about this. This is the storing and recalling feature from this calculator. So for example, you have number that's recurring, sine 98, for example, you get equals. It's a lot of decimal place, but you want to get the precise number. So what you can do is press store without any shift. Just press store, and then without pressing alpha or anything, just choose one of the A, B, C, D, E, F, X, Y, M. It's better to go from A, so it's easier. So just A. So now A represents 0.9902680,687. So how to recall is, the next time just press alpha and then A, and then for example plus 2. Now you get 2.99. So it's the exact value you show. To see the whole thing that you store as a menu, you have to press shift and then the store button. So recall. From here you can see all the values that's stored up, and you can okay, so to clear away the stored numbers, what you can do is press shift and then 9, reset, and press the second one, memory, and then just reset it and AC. So now when you check shift recall, you should get everything blank. And now we reached the end of the video, so thank you a lot for watching. Make sure to get this calculator or this 570EX or 991EX. Remember, This video is not sponsored, and if you like this video and you found something helpful, please like, and if you think your friend's gonna need it, just share it to them. Other than that, oh yeah, remember to comment on the features that I forgot to tell about, but other than that, see you in the next video.